afternoon, everyone. My name is Tyynismaa, and today I'll be presenting to you information about twins during the Holocaust. Often when we learn about World War II, the Holocaust is often followed by that. When we think of the Holocaust, we think of Jews going to concentration camps, and maybe you might think of Anne Frank because her whole life story is published in her diary that's read by millions of people throughout the world. But not just Jews were sent to these camps and were cruelly treated throughout the years of the World War. This man is Dr. Joseph Mengele, and he was employed at Auschwitz Death and Labor Camp during the time of the war. He was trained in genetics when he went to get his doctorate, and so his experiments that he performed on his patients were often genetics based. One of his favorite things to do, says ushmm.org, was to stand at the train station at the camp and help sort the people that came off the train. Often like cattle is done sorted. The men were sent to the labor part of the camp, and the women and children were sent directly to the gas chambers, unless they were twins. Twins were taken by Dr. Mengele for his personal experiments, and he protected them. Nothing could happen to them. The guards would do nothing to the twins because they knew that Joseph wanted him for his experiments. Twins are often used today in experiments because, for the same reasons that Joseph used them, because one can be the control and one can be experimented on. So they can be compared side by side without having to use a control group. Science Daily estimates that at least 1,500 sets of twins were sent to Dr. Mengele, but only 200 survived, and that's just an estimate. We do not know everything for sure. So here are some images of people that were tested on. The one on the left are of dwarves. The one on the right is of twins, of twin girls that were, those were Jewish twins, but often gypsies, those with physical disabilities, those with mental disabilities. Homosexuals were often sent to the camps as well. So those people, if they were twins, were sent to Dr. Mengele. Now here are some images. Some are a little bit gruesome, so just to prepare you. This one up on the top left is one of his most famous experiments, where they would test to see how the best way to raise body temperature. So when pilots were sent out of their planes and dropped into cold water, they could figure out what was the best way to bring our body temperature back up. So in this one, this man was placed in a bath with ice water until his body temperature reached about 79 degrees Fahrenheit, and then different things were done to him to see if they could warm his temperature back up, like putting him in a warm sleeping bag, or in worst cases, they would dump buckets of scalding water onto them. This second one was also a very famous experiment done by Dr. Mengele that PBS.org talks about, and that was creating conjoined twins. He did this on multiple occasions with multiple individuals, where he would slice them and then sew them back together, and then they were observed for days, and then they were died within at least a week, and then they were examined after their death as well. And then here in this last image on the bottom right, he has someone who has some sort of contraption in his mouth and is inhaling different things. And so because he was trained in genetics, and because the Aryan race was their goal when destroying the Jews, because they were the one that caused all the problems in Germany, he often did things where he would inject chemicals into people's eyes to try to change them to blue, because blue eyes were the ideal. Also pale skin, blonde hair. So those kind of things were manipulated by Joseph Mengele to try to change these twins and see what would be the best way to turn everyone into a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kind of person. Now, one twin that had all the experiments done to them, once they passed away, they wanted to do an autopsy, but they needed something to compare it to. So the twin that was not experimented on was then killed soon after their sibling had died. And this was often done by inserting a syringe directly into their heart with no anesthesia. That was often chloroform or another lethal chemical that caused a very painful death, and then the autopsy was done side by side with the two twins. Now, not all the experiments that Dr. Mengele did are documented because we don't know everything. Just like how all the SS guards figured out that the Allies were coming, they sent double the people to the gas chambers to try to get rid of that, and that's what Dr. Mengele did. He got rid of his evidence, they burned it, and he tried to kill off as many twins so that he would not be found out. So we are still trying to figure out everything that happened to him and happened in his offices, and still we do not know everything that happened to those twins, but we have a few of those stories, and that we are still trying to figure out everything. So hopefully you learned today about what happened during the Holocaust, not just about only the Jews, but now you know about the twins and what happened to them, and that they're gruesome experiments, and that hopefully nothing like this ever happens again. Thank you.